Hi, it's Jane. It's one of those rainy afternoons. Um, I am working on another Barbie doll dress, and I am using the I Love This Cotton by Hobby Lobby, and I did double check, and it does fit around the doll at the breast, like the other Kobu does, so I am going to use it and make a dress out of it. I am using the color, I need to get that right there. And let me show you the color that I'm using. I'm using this, which is pastel, and it's called Cotton Candy. And it's the I Love This Cotton by Hobby Lobby. It is thinner, and I just wanted to double check because the first, yesterday when I'd started with it, I was like, I don't know, that might be a little too big. But I did measure around the bust of the doll, and it's fine. So, the hardest part is that first row, mainly because I like to use the back bump, and sometimes with a G hook, my crochet back bump is a lot tighter than the rest of the items. So, yeah. But it's kind of fun to work with these and to make the little Barbie doll dresses. And like I said, these are so plain, you can fix them up any way you wanted to. Just, have fun with this. I always find it funny when I come home from my overnight sleep-in job. My cats the next day, they act like I'm a stranger and I'm invading their space. It kind of cracks me up the way they behave. I guess they just got used to me being around 24/7, except when I was out getting groceries or, at one of the different places I go to. This nighttime thing has kind of thrown them a little bit, but they're okay. But of course, they have to sniff me like I've been away for weeks on end. Now, Izzy is pretty easygoing. She will come right up to me, and she will oftentimes, when I go take my shoes off and sit down on the couch to take my shoes off, she'll jump up right next to me and rub all over me. And of course she wants some petting. So she gets a little prime time petting. Ronan is kind of standoffish at first, and then he comes sniffing. And I never realized that he was a big sniffer too. Izzy, I knew was a sniffer. I was pre-warned with her that she was a sniffer. She sniffs everything. But Ronan, not so much. But I'm off for a week, so it's a nice little vacay, something different. My little lady last night stayed up till midnight. We watched The Sound of Music and about maybe an hour of 16 Candles, which she kept turning to me and going, this makes no sense. What is this girl going on about? We had a great discussion around The Sound of Music about being in love with someone who was in love with someone else, how hurtful that must be. And then we discussed her marriage to her husband and how long they were married and some of the surprises that he gave her during their marriage when he was away for business trips. So it was, fairly interesting to sit and talk with her about some of those things. But of course, with the Alzheimer's, at times, you don't know if she's telling you the truth or not. Because I'll give you a prime example. The other day, she told me that she had been with the circus. She was with them for about 10 years, and she was a trapeze artist. And according to her son, that never happened. So, but, when you have someone that has dementia or Alzheimer's, beginning Alzheimer's, you don't argue with them because sometimes it will create a bit of a violent nature in them. So it's easier just to let them tell you the story, let them build on that, and just enjoy the story. Go along with it. That is their reality at the moment. And I can tell you in nursing school, that was not the norm. They would constantly put on us that we need to reorient them to the present day. That does not help someone with dementia many times. And I would say that should be according to certain things that are going on in the world today, that you can reorient them to present reality. But something like that, wouldn't even worry about it. Just not worth the hassle. Not worth getting them all upset because you're not believing their story. But it's unusual for her to stay up that late. She normally is in bed by 6:30, 8. So, and I think some of it was one of the gals' daughter had dropped off her grandchild for her to watch for about an hour in between while they were waiting for me to come. And she was worried about the little girl because the little girl's hair was in her eyes. And of course, she has some pillows on the back of her couch that have, looks like embroidered or crewel work on them. And the little girl, she's about 4, 4.5, almost 5. She was counting the birds that were on the pillow, and she was rubbing them. And that worried her. She was afraid she was picking at them. So, of course, we had to divert our little friend to do something else so we wouldn't upset our charge for the evening. So, because we are in her home. But yeah, she's interesting. She's telling us that she's going to be a grandmother soon. And that's not true. But, sometimes you just go with it. Talk with her because tomorrow she'll have forgotten the story. And she enjoyed listening to me talk about the geology trips that I took with Thomas, some of the things we did. She was, she just loved all that kind of stuff. So we did enjoy each other's company. Okay, so in the Anna Kepner story, they have finally ruled that a homicide. I mean, I'm not sure how you have any doubts that it's a homicide when you die from strangulation, but, you know, that is what they have determined, so now we just wait to see who they indict on it, right? Some strange family stuff. And, you know, when you talk about strange things, I'm trying to remember which school it was. Let me look it up. There was a school that they had an overnight field trip or something like that. And they had placed it's in Colorado. In Denver. They allowed a biologically male student, who was an 11-year-old girl, to share overnight accommodations with girls based solely on gender identity without notifying parents or seeking their consent. According to what happened is this 11-year-old girl just finished the 5th grade and was traveling with classmates on a trip to Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. And according to this, they were assigned a 2-bed hotel room with 3 other students, 2 girls from her school, 1 from another school in the district. As the children prepared for bed on the first night, the daughter learned that her bedmate was biologically male and identifies as a transgender female. The girl reportedly went to the bathroom to call her mother, who was nearby, serving as a chaperone. The room assignment came despite assurances from district officials that boys and girls would be placed on different hotel floors. So the family is suing because of the trauma that they put their child through, plus the fact that the school district did not notify them that there would be a transgender child placed in the same bed as her daughter. I realize this is a slippery slope, and it's okay as adults if you want to push that kind of crap and agenda on other adults, but children, no. And I don't care how they identify as a child, it should be male. There's no reason they could not have given that child a room on their own with a chaperone. None. So they chose to violate this other young lady's rights and her parents' parental rights. So we'll see what comes of the lawsuit, but it's one of those things that's kind of crazy to think that you would have that happen on an overnight trip. That should not happen. Shouldn't. You know, it's one thing to be on the bus with these kids and be going places, but to be expected to share a bed? No. No. That's just wrong. I mean, how many times have we heard of transgender females being put in prisons and raping other female prisoners? Now, do I think that would happen with this 11-year-old? No. However, I still don't think it's right to put that kind of pressure on the child. If she was an adult, and wanted to do that, consented, yeah. But, yeah, there's going to be some problems there in the Denver area with this lawsuit. We'll see what happens, like I said. Some of the not so smart things. Then you have, was it the judge that decided to drop the cases against Letitia Adams and Comey, saying that the person that brought the lawsuit was not legally qualified to do so? I'm telling you, I don't know what it is about these judges that think that they can do activism in judging cases. We also had the case of the fellow that burned that young woman on the Chicago train. That judge released that person back out, even though there are 74 convictions of this guy for violence and all kinds of things. Does he probably need mental health care? Yeah. So release him to a mental health institution. But she put him right back on the street. And there was another case that I was reading about. I believe this guy had murdered someone. The jury convicted him, and then the judge turned around and acquitted him. Activist judge. It wasn't illegal as well. So, I don't know. And then you have the morons that were at Home Depot purchasing ice scrapers. Well, some of them had putty knives, but some of them actually had ice scrapers at Home Depot, and I can't remember where it was. Because the Home Depot had allowed ICE to come on to their premises to pick up some of the more notorious illegals there. So what these people were doing were buying the ice scrapers, then they would get in line to get a refund, to turn them back in. It basically to irritate the employees, to cause a ruckus. That's why I call them morons. Until eventually Home Depot just threw them out. And basically, I think the manager should have gone and put a sign on the ice scrapers and putty knives, no refunds, no returns, period. But those kind of stunts they really don't do any good. They don't bring any awareness to anything. You know, I can understand if there are illegals that were here, didn't have ICE detainers, but ICE is going after folks that have ICE detainers. And it's kind of like the story there, and I think it's Charlotte, where they talked about ICE had picked up a 15-year-old boy while he was at work at the store. He wasn't 15, he was 20. He had 2 ICE detainers. These are legal documents, gone through a court for them to be deported. Legal documents to have them deported, because either they didn't follow the rules, they broke the rules, or they were guilty of some crime, so the courts decided to deport them. So, and that was a false story. There was another story. Can't remember what it was, but it was somewhere around in the Charlotte area as well. The news media was portraying it as something totally different than what it was. And you have to remember a lot of these ICE detaining orders, warrants for their arrest, were done during Biden administration through the court system because they failed to come back to report, or that they had been criminally charged in some kind of issue. So, I don't know. And I just think it's funny how people want to close their eyes and put blinders on to those facts, to many of the facts around certain cases. So, just kind of crazy. And I really think those judges that do the kind of things like that, activism in their judgments, are not very wise people. And I really think they should be investigated. They are bound to uphold the laws, not what their little heart wants, not what their feelings are about things, not their political views, but to uphold the law. We see so many times them getting around a lot of those kind of issues, and it shouldn't be that way. And it looks like not Representative, is it Senator Kelly? Looks like he's being investigated. Looks like I heard someone say it's possible that he could be recalled so that they could court-martial him for his part in the commercial, the little TikTok that they did. And then, of course, that gal Slotkin, Lisa Slotkin, had to come out and admit that there have been no illegal orders given by President Trump. I bet that had to have hurt, at least her pride or something like that. And I don't know if you guys have seen the latest with the 3-eye atlas, but it looks to be rather interesting. Should be able to see it with the telescope when it hits here around December the 19th-ish. Say 19th-ish, because if it speeds up its trajectory, it might be here sooner. NASA had released a extremely blurry photo the other day when it was at Mars, which if you look at some of those that are coming out of the Chinese Space Agency, there's a vast difference in the look to it. So sometimes you have to wonder what they're doing and how come their photo is so bad compared to the Chinese or the Australians, you know? but it looks like it's still giving off certain gases and, water, which technically, as a comet, it shouldn't. I've watched a couple of people on TikTok are raising Cain because of some of the issues with the way that Hobby Lobby does their checkout. They don't like the fact that the cashier has to put everything in manually and they can't scan the barcode. Don't shop at Hobby Lobby then, folks. Move on. I mean, you have to understand, while I don't agree with this, with the owner's position, he feels that using scanning, those kind of things are part of the mark of the beast. So he chooses to have his cashiers do everything manually. And so far, I haven't seen it be that much slower, unless you're purchasing a ton of items. Because I know even when I was purchasing yarn for the prayer shawl group there at Hobby Lobby, we would line the things up that were all the same price so they could just count them, put in the number, and then whatever the code was for it. I mean, we didn't really hold up a line. And we sometimes had 3 buggies full of yarn. I mean, stacked high full of yarn. So, yeah. But I can understand how some people, we've gotten so used to things being quick and done and over with that we're not willing to take a few minutes extra to wait our turn. Is that a sign of impatience? Yeah. Remember when it was all done manually anyway? Do you? I do. The registers, you had to punch in the number or the price of the item. If it didn't have a price, you had to wait for someone to go check it. Yeah. Not a bad deal. Now, the other thing I saw them complaining about were that the Operation Christmas boxes. Christmas child boxes there that Hobby Lobby sells them for $3.99, and the gal was trying to say that they were making 100% profit off of those, because online it only costs $2 per box. Well, you get 12 boxes in one of those, but the shipping ain't cheap, so the shipping makes them about $4 a piece. And when you're shipping a ton of them the way that Hobby Lobby does, yeah, they're selling it for the price that it costs for them to get the box. So really, I think people should stop pissing and moaning about that. Either that or go online and buy your boxes that way, if you want to use the plastic box. Now, I choose to use the paper, the cardboard box, mainly because the cardboard box does not have the slant that the plastic box does. You can actually fit more into it, although supposedly the dimensions of the box are the same. I have not found that. Found you can actually get more into the cardboard box. And then I've always tried to make sure there's a backpack or a bag or something like that that is actually in the box, so that they have a way of carrying everything that way. That That way the bag can be used to carry their items back and forth, that kind of thing. Now, I have heard that one advantage to having the plastic box shoe boxes with the lid is that it's an easy way to keep their things together, but it also affords them the ability to tote water back and forth to their homes using the shoebox. So, of course, in our group, we're trying to figure out, is there a way to find a collapsible bucket that can be included into the boxes? I'm sure somebody makes them, so anyway, those are some of the things we had discussed in our group. We had, while we were packing the big trailers with the big cartons of all the boxes, the cartons hold 16. Yeah, hold 16 shoe boxes. As long as they are a regular size shoebox. There are a lot of people that will pack the big, larger shoe boxes or boot shoe boxes. So those cartons you have to pack a little differently. And what you normally do is on the outside of the carton, you list how many shoe boxes are in that. And then when it's loaded onto the trailer, it is given a special number and everything is double checked. So it's quite an amazing thing to see how they get, you would assume that you fill the cartons and then you just fill the, tractor trailer beds with the boxes, and you don't have to do all this other stuff. You have to make sure you know how many are there. There are certain boxes that are marked a different way depending on the county that they came from and all kinds of things. So it's important that the logistics leader has a good handle on that, and we had a good gal that did that. But while we were packing it, we had a gentleman that was ex-military, and he was giving two of the men a hard time because they were just PAs and not doctors. I mean, he was really giving them a hard time about it. And it's like, what is his beef? And finally someone stepped up and told him to let it go, And later on we were talking while we were waiting for another U-Haul to come in, transfer to the tractor trailer. We were discussing some things like that and about how you handle someone like that in the church that doesn't realize what they're doing, goes, excuse me, is not appropriate, And one of the fellows that's been a member of that church for probably 40 years or more basically said, short of taking him to the woodshed, you have to pull him aside, tell him that's not appropriate. And they said they had asked the two young men if they were bothered by his banter about it, and they just kind of laughed. They go, no, we don't care. If you just let him be, let him carry on, So they were fairly good-natured about that, but sometimes I think people need to be aware that just because you are just a PA, not a doctor, doesn't mean that you are not a skilled professional. Because in many respects, they've gotten the education of a doctor. The only difference is they're just not going on to specialize, to do other certain things in that education process, which they could certainly do at a later date to pick those up, those skills, and then to do internships to be able to get that MD behind their licensure. But physician's assistants are a great help to many doctors. It helps not only the doctors, but it also helps patients. They are under the care of a physician regardless. The physician signs off on what the PA has done, and the PA has any questions, they generally will go to the physician to ask, So, it's just a different source of information in a medical personnel. Oh. Sinuses still, it's one of those things, they come and go. And I'm hoping eventually they just go away. It goes completely away. I've had quite a few other people that have talked about getting it, and their doctors are basically telling them the same thing. It's not really a sinus infection, not really a cold, it's not COVID. They have no idea what to call it, other than a virus, until somebody decides, they're going to look into it, find out what it is, identify it, and track it, And I'm sure that involves doing a lot of swabs and looking at it under microscopes and, all that fun stuff. Well, this Barbie doll, this is the last row for it. Although I'm thinking about going to find maybe some eyelash yarn to put around the bottom and the top. But we'll see. I'm not going to do that with you guys, but of course you'll get to see it later on. See what I wound up doing with it. So what are you guys working on today? It's Thanksgiving. So now it's time to start bringing out some of those Christmas decorations. I thought about bringing them out the other day, and I was like, no, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till after Thanksgiving, and then I'll bring them out. So, yeah. Anyway, at least I'm being a little patient with it, right? Another quick and easy doll dress. I do have a couple patterns where I can actually sew them. I don't know what I'm doing there. I don't need a magic circle, but do have a couple patterns where I can sew a couple Barbie doll dresses, and I will do that with some of the scraps that I have back there. Sorry, I was counting. But the other day, Donna had mentioned doing some knitting, and I don't think I have ever knitted Barbie doll dresses. I'll be honest, I don't think I have. I know that I have knitted 19-inch doll clothes, but I have not knitted any Barbie doll dresses. So that might be something to look into, to knit some Barbie doll clothes. Of course, I'll have to go online, look for some patterns. If I do find any, I will definitely share with you. And I'm sure the old YouTube has some. So, can't imagine that they would take a long time to do, you know, for knitting. I do enjoy knitting. Do have some baby sweaters I need to get started this week. Had to find my patterns. I'm not like I have a friend who is able to recall baby patterns and all kinds of different patterns she's done over and over. I'm not that bright. I mean, I can remember what I started with, but then I can't remember where I need to, you know, start breaking down for the sleeves and all that fun stuff. So, but the pattern that I use is one of my favorites, and it's, I think it's called Sue's Top Down Raglan. Don't quote me on that, but it's at Needleworkers blogspot.com. And I think it's still up there. They have a lot of different sweaters and that can be knit, blankets, the knit, crochet, those kind of things. So that is one of my favorite resources when it comes to baby items, because they're fairly easy, simple, and they come out looking really nice. And most of them use worsted weight. Most of the patterns, not all. I think one uses the sport weight, or, you know, size 3. But I think the rest of them are worsted weight. And that's what I enjoy about this pattern, because I can use worsted weight. Don't have to worry about trying to find a special yarn for the baby. And I believe it uses a 6 needle and a size 8. And it's fairly easy, and so that's my preferred knit pattern. No. Don't have a preferred crochet pattern. There's quite a few out there that are nice, but yeah, this is the knit one that I prefer to do all the time. Try to remember to leave a link down below for that knit baby pattern. But it comes out nice every time. So, all right, guys, I am going to let you go. Believe it or not, I need to do a little bit of house cleaning. It's funny how when I'm gone overnight, the cats can make a mess of things. And that's generally when they choose to dig in their litter, spray it all over the place. Thank you very much, kitty cats. I think that may be a sign of rebellion. I don't know. All right, guys, everybody have a great day. I'll see you again tomorrow. No, I will not see you on Thanksgiving. I am not going to film on Thanksgiving. So everybody enjoy your Thanksgiving, and have a great day, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.